I saw you picking up the little dance moves from Shevchenko at the end of your fights. I love that, by the way.
That came after like that first win.
Yes.
And
he was
then,
like holding your hands and the decision hasn't even come out.
And they were like...
And he just started pulling up some moves. I was like, I love it. I was just like clapping.
One of those, adrenaline was going. They ended up playing my walkout song. Yep. And I was like, yeah. Get to do another one this week. Welcome to the Trendy Husky podcast. If you haven't subscribed, please go subscribe. You can follow us on Instagram as well. We'll go quick with the lineup because we have a special guest. We got beautiful Ollie in production. Hi guys.
We got Yassi, me as your host. And today we have a pro MMA fighter. We have Natalya, the Beast Speece. How are ya?
Good. Thank you so much for having me on.
Did I say the name right?
You actually did. That was very surprising.
Did I? Okay. did they usually butcher it?
So, it's such a weird spelling too. Most people don't really assume kind of how it sounds, and that was spot on. So that was perfect. Thank you.
I was going to go with your married name because I know I saw your documentary, that little quick 10-minute, 15-minute. It was beautifully done, by the way.
Oh, my goodness. She was wonderful.
It covered a lot from the weight cut to everything. And I was very surprised. She did an amazing job.
Yeah. That was actually for, I think it was like an ending project. She was going to school, I think it was USD or something like that. And she was doing film and reached out to me through the gym. Got connected with her through the gym, and she reached out to me and was like, hey, I'd love to do this documentary on you. And I was like, why not? This is awesome, and to be able to have that for later on to show my kids. And it was just such a beautiful job that she did too. I was so proud of it. She did a great job. All right, so today we're going to pick your brain. We're going to talk about you a little bit. We're going to pick your brain on some UFC fights coming up as well. Let's start with your amateur career. So you started fighting back in 2016, right? So I actually had started fighting even before that. I've done Muay Thai since I was about 15 years old.
Got it.
So almost 15 years now, on and off, I've fought. My first MMA fight was actually 2016.
Got it. So your MMA career started back in 2016.
Yeah, 2016. And it's interesting. So that was the last time I lost was 2016. And that was my MMA debut, and I lost my MMA debut. And so it was really interesting. I ended up having an injury the next month, and so I had to take almost a full year off. So it was a very weird time. I just got into it, was so excited about it. Then everything kind of came to a halt. And then, 2017, 2018, I was really able to start focusing on the wrestling and jiu-jitsu and that fun part of it too.
Because it's different. Because when you come in with a Muay Thai background, it helps.
Yeah.
But then you're fighting fighters that have a wrestling background, and it's so diverse and different but it was nice that you actually stepped into it in 2016. I bet you learned a lot from it.
Oh yeah.
You took a loss, that's fine. You came back and won 4 in a row.
Yeah, I was very happy about that,
So what are some of the adjustments that you made from your first loss to those 4 wins that you had? What are some of the things that you worked on?
Well, it was interesting because, I came with a Muay Thai background and I had focused on my boxing and my stand-up. So I went in there being like, I got this, it's stand-up, kind of underestimating. This is mixed martial arts. Right. You have to know everything. And there's a lot to know. I'm still learning in all this. And so I went in there, not necessarily a little cocky, but like, okay, I'm good. I can keep it on my feet. Right. Went to the ground. Didn't know what to do on the ground. Right. And after that, it was like, okay, I need to know what I need to focus on. Right. My stand-up's good. I can always develop that. But there is now this whole other world with the wrestling, the judo, jiu-jitsu, the grappling part of MMA.
Yep.
And so, you know, my husband and I ended up having a really good conversation. Like, okay, what am I going to do? You know, we have really good gyms out here. We have really good stand-up gyms, really good jiu-jitsu gyms, good MMA gyms too. We have Team Oyama, which is right down the street from here, basically. And just really needed to figure out, okay, where can I go to put it all together? You know, like I said, I have these specific gyms, but I want somewhere to put it all together.
Right.
And that's when Jackson Wink kind of came in the picture, and did a trial run out there, fell in love with it, was like, okay, well, maybe this will be my home camp.
Okay.
And went out there, and I was so lucky to find my wrestling coach and my jiu-jitsu coach out there.
Yep.
And so the last 3 years, you know, was just focused on the grappling, the jiu-jitsu, the wrestling, very heavy grappling at Jackson Wink, putting it all together, working with such high-level people, such a variety of people, because we had so many people from all over the world that come there. And so that was the main focus. And so I think my confidence, and then as well as the technique and all this, changed so much with making that transition out there, which kind of led to me being able to go 4-0 last year.
So it's very interesting you said that, because a lot of fighters come to California for training camps.
Yeah.
They and you were like, no, I feel more comfortable in New Mexico. I know you considered Florida for a minute as well.
Yeah, we had thought, you know, we know Northern California, Florida, and New Mexico. Those were kind of our spots. Like, okay, where do we want to go from there?
Got it.
I was actually born in Florida, so I was like, I don't mind. Why not go back out there? Hard to leave California, because California is amazing.
Right.
And never thought I would leave. But the pricing, it is extremely affordable in New Mexico.
Absolutely.
And besides the elevation training, I was like, you know, something about the vibes out there. It's really weird. They say it's like the Albuquerque universe.
And it shows how much how committed you are to. I mean, to your MMA career. I mean, like I said, a lot of people have been like, I'll just find a camp here in California. I'll be next to my house. My husband is around. It won't be a problem. You're like, no, New Mexico, you felt comfortable in there. And now you're driving back and forth, flying back and forth. So I know that's not an easy thing to do. So now then we go, you were supposed to fight in April. Then the COVID stuff happened. Then it got pushed to June.
Yeah.
That didn't happen either. And then finally you got booked for July for Invicta FC 41.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so how did that go?
So it was really interesting. This huge buildup, you know, like I said, April, then June, and then after June, there was nothing in sight.
Right.
They told us it was supposed to be for King of the Cage. They told us, you know, right now we just don't know, especially being California. And everything again kind of came to a pause, and it was really frustrating. Like, hey, what are we going to do? We had been reaching out to Invicta, we had been reaching out to multiple promotions, for me to stay active. And, you know, as the universe would have it, one door closed and another one opened. And we got this opportunity with Invicta, and it was just amazing. You know, they were able to book me so quickly. I was like, yeah, let's do July. You know, I'm so ready for it. I've been training, all this kind of stuff. Everything was perfect. Made my debut and lost. And that's one of those that's kind of part of the fight game. You know, I'm still processing. It's only been a week. But
so I watched the fight. And here is what I saw in the fight. And I've watched all of your amateur fights as well. And it's very interesting. You're a very smart fighter. You don't do something unless you calculate it. You don't just rush into it. Everything is very calculated, like I said. And I felt like watching your amateur debut versus your pro debut, it was a little similar. I could feel a little bit of jitters, because the girl, like, you took a little stumble in the very beginning of the fight, and then she took you down. You didn't give up you did not give up at all for the whole first round, and she was on top of you and trying to, you know, put a submission on you, and you were not going away. You were fighting back. So if I would put my money on it, I think you're gonna learn a lot from your first loss. I think it's gonna be the same scenario. History is gonna repeat itself, and you're gonna come back and smash the next 4 or 5 girls, and I think we're gonna see you at a bigger promotion, because you are very smart. A lot of girls, a lot of guys nowadays, the second they see like someone going down, they just go boom, 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 boom. You're very calculated. You know and if that fight would have been, if it didn't go on the ground, if she would have stand up with you, I'm pretty sure it would have came up on top.
Yeah, and that's very interesting about how everything played out. It was really weird. Like I said, the universe is very weird. And it was so similar to that very first MMA fight.
Exactly.
And like I said, after that 2016 loss, I actually went 7-0. So boxing, Muay Thai, and MMA, I went 7-0.
Okay.
And then this happened, and it was one of those. It was like, you know what? Everything was perfect. The camp was perfect. My weight cut was perfect. My mental game, what I thought was perfect. You know, and I haven't watched it yet. You know,
I've watched it plenty. Trust me, I watched it like 5-6 times.
Where I thought about that, and I think I was, and I've actually talked to a couple different people about it, almost a little bit too calm and collected.
Yes.
Not being able to unleash that beast that I am.
Okay.
And this is what the fight game is. I have no one else to blame but myself. It was one of those, I don't know. It happened so quick, and that was it. And I think I was so complete opposite of like, okay, just don't get submitted. Instead of, I actually am working with a mental coach. And I like his idea of, instead of offense and defense, it is offense and counter offense. So instead of just being on the defensive defending, you're actually doing more with that. And so when I think back on it, it's like, oh, you know, there were certain times where instead of just chilling and playing it safe, I could have attacked in this and that. So yes, it is an extremely hard lesson to learn, but it is a lesson learned. And then, now I have a whole new fire in me.
Absolutely.
Kind of coming back.
Okay. I know it's weird to say, and a lot of people won't get this unless if you're actually a fighter. You learn a lot from losses. Yeah. It makes you better, believe it or not.
It does.
Because you make the right adjustments and you come back. I mean, who the hell takes an L? I mean, unless if this is just not meant for you. But who the hell takes an L and doesn't go and make adjustments? Yeah. You know what I mean? So,
and it's all on you.
Absolutely.
You know, there's nothing you can, as much as you maybe want to blame a coach, it's on you.
Absolutely.
So you have to take initiative to take those, you know, okay, this is what happened. This is what I need to do. This is what I need to work on. And then if you are passionate enough about this, if you love this, no matter how much it hurts, you got to get back in there. And that was, you know, I ended up going back to New Mexico, jumped in the gym this week. Thank goodness.
Right. And you just fought, what, a week and a half ago?
That's right. I fought last Thursday.
Wow.
So
and you already jumped back into.
And I went in there. Like I said, I walked away injury free. And that was like the biggest thing for me was, you know what, my heart hurt, but nothing else did. So I was very lucky. So I went back and it was like, okay, I know what I need to work on. I reached out to my jiu-jitsu coach. We talked about things, and now I have another game plan. And it's just straight back to doing what I love to do, which is training and learning. It's an academy for me out there. So I love being able to learn.
Let me ask you this, and I know you don't like giving excuses, but how much did COVID affect your camp altogether?
That's actually something I did talk about, again, with my mental coach. I like to think that it didn't necessarily have anything to do with it. However, I didn't get to have my bodies. That's one thing that I love about Jackson Wink is we are so used to having multiple women out at Jackson Wink. Right. Especially right now in the summer. Right now is like usually the peak time that we have people. We've had Germany, Italy, Spain, Mongolia, Lithuania. Like we have such a variety of women, specifically women that get to come out and train with us. And when everything shut down, it was good. I don't mind I love doing my private sessions and all this, but it really makes a difference when you don't have multiple people to work with. Absolutely. And to get used to being in these certain positions. Right. You can do mitts all day. You can roll and drill all day. Do you spar before fights? Do you spar? Yeah. Okay. We're very heavy sparring at Jackson Wink. Okay. But I have kind of leaned more towards, I know there's a lot of fighters that are actually not doing as hard of sparring as in the past. You know, you used to think you just go out, spar hard, like a fight almost every week or something. I have now taken a backseat, especially being a little bit older. I won't
that much older.
Not
I'm not going to let you say that.
I say I'm older of this new generation that's coming in. You know, you have these youngins that are 23, 22, 23, 24. And I'm like, oh, my almost 30-year-old body feels it a lot different. So I try to be very strategic with my sparring, when I'm doing it, how I do it, who I'm doing it with. So I think the biggest factor for sure, besides the gym shutting down and having to take a pause, that didn't really affect me too much because of the people I'm around and having a gym at home, but it was the bodies. I was very paranoid about working with multiple people just because of...
You don't know if they're going to hurt you.
You don't know if they're going to hurt you.
Sparring partners, you don't know, like right before a fight, the last thing you want to go in that octagon injury free. So
that was exactly one of the biggest things. And then besides that, it was COVID. You know, we actually had someone from our gym who had trained the whole camp, showed up to an event. I think it was an LFA event, and tested positive. And he was asymptomatic, but it was somebody that he was around. And so it was just one of those that kind of like got in my head. Even if my coach had tested positive, that actually happened at Invicta. I think somebody's corner tested positive, and they had to pull the fight the day of the fight. And so it wasn't just, okay, you know, I have my people that I work with that I know I can trust, that's not going to hurt me. But then it was like, okay, well, are you isolating? Because if you're not, I love you.
You gotta trust other people to be doing the right thing.
I had to be very careful with that.
When you're trying to like break out into like a bigger promote, so all of that is playing in your mind. Of course, it's gonna affect you.
Yeah, I was very paranoid about it, and I see now why we would watch UFC Embedded, and a lot of them, they like moved 4 or 5 people in a house. I was like, okay, we're quarantined together in this house. And I was kind of being able to do that. Like I said, I have my crew. I was like, okay, Tevin, Carson, Celine, okay, you guys cannot be around people.
That's it.
I'm sorry, I'm being selfish right now. You guys are mine. I need you right now. But
I don't think you are per se, because once they are in your surrounding, they understand how important this is.
They did all understand how important this is.
I don't think this should be hard for anyone. I mean, just because they care for you and stuff. But all right, so we talked about New Mexico. We talked about how committed you are. I know you just recently got married in the last couple of years.
Yeah, 2017.
How important, again, I know your mom is involved a lot, because I saw her in the documentary. I saw your husband being involved in your wake up. How important is it to have mostly, not only, like friends and whatever, but mostly like your husband and your mom being involved in what you're doing? How important is it to have that right surrounding around you? Because there is a lot of fighters out there where their families don't per se believe in them. So how nice is it to have the right surrounding around you? Does it help?
That actually came up in this camp. You know, I was around a lot of individuals. I train with a lot of individuals that don't have family support. Or, the support is kind of there, but of course they're encouraging them to do something else. And I am just so blessed and grateful beyond words for my family. Both my parents have been to every single fight. Every single fight they've been to, win, lose, or draw, they've seen me fight my best. They've seen me fight my worst. Been through all the weight cuts. And then my husband came in the picture, and same thing. Has gone through it all with me. Best of times, worst of times, through sickness and health, all of it.
Do you tell him before you guys got married, like, listen, this is very important to me, I just want to let you know? Like,
I was actually, when we first started dating, I was getting ready for a fight. So he knew about this lifestyle. I wasn't as 100% into it, but he knew about it. He saw me getting ready for a fight. I took a fight that I wasn't supposed to fight, and we were just dating, and he actually came to the fight, and he saw me lose. And again, it was one of those, like, God, really?
I feel you.
And for some reason, he still was like, you know what? he was one of the biggest encouragements to continue doing it.
Right.
Like I said, this is an extremely hard sport, not just on my body, but my soul. Like, it's a lot that we go through.
I saw your mom talk as well, and
Yeah.
I could tell she is very supportive of what you do, but I could tell that there is like a little bit, they're just like afraid, you know what I mean?
Well, she's a nurse.
Oh.
So my mom is a nurse and she's a mom. So, and with 2 daughters,
Right.
you know, so we did theater growing up and performing and never any
Right.
sort of sport,
Right.
maybe cheerleading, but that was like the most. So to go from theater, acting, singing and dancing to this was quite a lifestyle.
Completely different.
A whole lifestyle change. And we had a conversation, I think it was after my injury, my big injury, that we had that conversation where she was like, okay, I love you, but either you need to do this 100% or you need to start and do whatever you want to do, whatever else you want to do with your life. And like I said, for some reason, they are still always in my corner and supporting me. And I'm just, it brings me to tears almost, because I hear about these people that are going so
Right.
hard and their parents are just constantly in their ear, and mine are the complete opposite. They're, you know, my dad is my biggest fan,
Right.
loves this. My husband, like, I honestly don't think I could do it if I didn't have their
It takes a
support.
lot off your back when you know your family's in your corner.
100%. There's so much relief there. Just no matter what, I have their support. You know, as soon as I lost, they were right there. We talked about it.
Right.
They let me have a little cry, you
Yep.
know, and then it was like, okay, you know what you need to work on. It's time to get back to work.
That's it.
And that's what I need. You know, sometimes that's all you need is a shoulder to cry on,
Absolutely.
and then somebody to tell you honestly, like, okay, so what
Absolutely,
happened? You know, now we know
absolutely.
we need to work on.
Because it's
so,
easier when you wake up in the morning, you're like, I have to do this to prove everyone wrong.
Yeah.
You know, when in your case, you know you're loved by everyone, you know everyone is supporting you. So you're like, you know, I just got to do this for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I got no one to prove right or wrong. I love doing this, and this is why I'm doing it. Let's go back into the fight. And how long does it take you to prepare for a fighter? Because I know in the amateur, it's very hard to find tapes or this and that. And everyone, like you said, comes with a different background. How long would you say would be enough time to prepare for a fight?
Usually, when I've talked to my coaches about this, same thing. You know, some people want like an 8-week camp. But again, that is 8 weeks of grinding on your body for one night. You know, I think anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks is a perfect camp.
Right.
You are not damaging your body as much in the camp, so you're 100% ready, and you're not getting burnout. Because as fighters, as anybody that does what they do, a lot of it and love it, there is a chance of burnout. And especially with being so physical. And so I think from 4 to 6 weeks, I think it's a perfect time to strategize, plan, get a game plan going, get your body where it wants to be.
Right.
And then go for it. I think anything more than that, you start to see the injuries that come into play.
Absolutely.
That you have to be very careful with.
Yeah. So what's your walk-in weight usually?
So the week of leading up to the fight, I try to be about 35.
Okay. And you fight in 125.
And I fight 25.
So you have like 10 pounds to lose.
Usually I do 10 pounds the week of. Some of that is food-wise. I change up my food a little bit, but then I'll try to do about, if I can, best case scenario is anywhere from 4 to 6 pounds of water weight. And I can do that in a day. It's a lot harder. Guys do it so much different. They could do 10 plus in a day. But being a woman and getting down to these smaller sizes, it's a lot harder for me. So I try to only do about, like I said, ideally 4 to 6 of water weight, which you can do, like I said, in a day, a couple sessions, sauna sessions, sweat sessions. I've done 12 pounds of water in 2 days, which was horrific.
Right.
So bad. Don't know how I did it, but I did it.
Did it. Wow.
And so
a lot of towels around though.
you are just, you can't even cry
You're
at that point
cooking.
because you're so dehydrated. I'll tell them, be like, my body wants to cry so bad, but there's literally no tears coming out.
I didn't understand how hard weight cutting was until I saw a while ago, and it's still on YouTube. There's this little video on Cris Cyborg.
Oh, yes.
It's like
oh
that,
my gosh, I know exactly what you're
you know
talking about.
And she's crying.
Bawling her eyes out. And
And we
just,
know
like,
how
picking
tough
her
Cris
up.
Cyborg is. I know you met her because I saw you take. She is as tough
my
as
gosh.
they come, and she is in a hot tub crying.
Just bawling her eyes out.
Just bawling her eyes out.
Yeah.
So I know it's not an easy thing to do. So with that, let's go into your diet. So I know when you go into camp, like to the camp, like it's different diet, but do you allow yourself to eat whatever when you're not preparing for a fight, or like do you have like your weeks off and on? How do you do your diet?
I'm actually, this is a learning process for me
Okay.
too. I ended up working with a nutritionist at this camp
Mm-hmm.
just because that has always been one of my biggest issues. Is a lot of the growing up was mental. Like I had some mental issues, just
Yep.
not having that confidence. But being in a sport, being a young girl in a sport that is revolved around the scale was really tricky for me. And so it really, really messed with me mentally. And so that's one of the biggest things that I've struggled with and trying to figure out the proper,
Yep.
chemistry, everything that goes into it. So, working with this nutritionist, I had to learn how to get over my fear of food. I am someone, I had an eating disorder. I'm still
That's not
recovering
easy.
from one.
That's not easy to deal with.
Especially in the sport, like I said, you have to be a certain number on a
Right.
scale. It's not necessarily how good you feel, how strong you feel. It comes down to numbers.
Yep.
And that can really, really mess with women. And so trying to do this properly, to be able to be a professional. I'm a professional now. I will be punished if I don't make weight. I can, I can get money taken away.
Yeah,
you get
absolutely.
fined. Especially now with UFC, you could even be bumped up a weight class. If you miss weight continuously, they have the right to move you up a weight class.
Yep.
There's so much more that goes into it now.
They might just not give you fights. I know they're supposed to give
Yeah.
you a fight every now and then, but they can just give you fights that you know you're not going to be
Exactly.
interested in till like you slowly just vanish.
There's so
But,
much
yeah,
that goes into
absolutely.
it.
There's so much politics into it too.
There is, so it's one of those, it's been a learning process for me, but as I'm working with a nutritionist and somebody who works with fighters, because that's what's different too, is not
Right.
just a nutritionist, somebody who works specifically with fighters.
Yep.
And they understand these kind of ups and downs that we go through.
Because there's a lot that comes into it. It's not only your body, it's genes, it's
So much.
It's so much. It's a
We're all built
there's a
so
science
different.
behind
Yeah,
it. Absolutely.
look at 25ers. Such a variety
Yeah.
of the body types. What like you said, everything that goes into it, the genes, DNA, and all that.
Absolutely,
And I was very lucky to work with this woman, Paulina, from Perfecting Athletes. She
Okay.
actually works with quite a few California people,
Mm-hmm.
and it was one of those it was nice to finally be able to. I was craving healthy food. Like when you learn to have a good relationship with your food, it makes things so much easier.
Okay.
My camps used to be just revolved around losing weight. Now it's like, no, I'm fueling myself. I feel good. I'm allowed to have dark chocolate. I can have some
Okay.
dark chocolate.
Okay.
I'm allowed to have peanut butter, like little things like
All
this
right.
that for so long I had kept myself from. And I would do you stop cold turkey.
Right.
But then the minute you win or that you are done with it, you have the binging. You have the binging and purging aspect
Yep.
of fighting. And so that's something I would struggle with. I have the biggest sweet tooth. Carla Esparza may be the cookie monster, but I say I'm the actual cookie monster.
There you go.
So I'm very guilty. I love my bad food. I'm Sicilian. I love my bread, everything.
Your pasta,
my
there you go.
pasta, all this kind of stuff. So I had to work with someone to be able to learn just eating your vegetables. Something as simple as that.
That's very interesting to say. You're craving healthy food. That's very hard to get to.
And
It's
it
not easy.
took almost 6 weeks
Right.
of eating healthy. I can eat for quite a variety of stuff. People, like I said, struggle and they're like, oh, yeah, chicken and rice,
Right.
and that's it, or eggs
That's
and
boring.
stuff like that.
That's
There's
just
so
boring.
much
Right.
more that I learned and that I'm still learning that I can eat.
Like,
you know?
yeah, it's
so
big.
much fun, beautiful colors in your plates.
Yeah.
So
a little
that
bit of
was
green, red.
Yes, all sorts. You know, it doesn't just have to be this white or tan food. You can have color in your food. So I'm still learning, but it was nice to see what good food does to your body.
Absolutely.
And just how good you feel. It was amazing.
Who's the cook at home? Are you or your husband?
Actually, me.
Is it? Okay.
And I'm getting better. I
Okay.
hated cooking. I'm extremely impatient. So cooking was a very, very hard thing for me. But being in New Mexico, I got on this meal plan.
Okay.
And I still not
Is it
super
more like
fun cooking.
keto? Is it more like...
Okay, so I had tried keto.
It doesn't... Well, it didn't work for me.
No, I've actually been told for fighters it is not an ideal.
Right.
And this is, of course, working for me, for my body. It just didn't necessarily work. I tried it for a while.
Yep.
Couldn't figure out because I had done trifecta.
Okay.
And trifecta you have options.
Mm-hmm.
Tried it. Didn't work for me. So I go back to...
So many diets out there.
There's so much.
There's hundreds of
Every
diets.
new fad you can
Intermediate
imagine.
fasting,
Yeah.
keto, this, that.
There's so much. So you have to experiment. I do like fasting.
Okay.
I've tried fasting every once
I
in a
love
while.
fasting. I don't mind fasting. I could do like a water fast and
yeah.
just have like a nice meal towards the
I
end.
do love that kind of
That's it.
reboot.
Yeah, it does.
But it just comes down to just like I said, eating your veggies.
There you go.
Morally, I would love to be a vegetarian or vegan, but I just, as of right now, being a fighter, it's just so much like I cannot do that.
You know what's interesting? And we keep having this argument all the time. You're like, you gotta eat your veggies. And I love that. You did not mention anything about fruits. There's a lot of sugar in fruits, people.
Okay, yes. Falling in love. Never in my life have I craved like strawberries, and I freeze like raspberries now and all this, and never in my life have I craved stuff like that. So to enjoy, I need my greens, but then to have sweets from
Right.
Sugar or my sugar from my fruit was really nice to
It's
experience.
okay to allow your body a little bit.
Yes,
you know,
yes,
just,
you are allowed
like,
to
tease
have
your body
that.
a little bit. Just everything gotta be like, just
And
with
it's-
small portions.
And it's actually much different now. I used to love like the milk chocolates, candy bars. Now I actually get so much more satisfaction out of having good actual nature sweets compared to milk chocolate. You know, it just doesn't do the same thing for me. If I can have a nice strawberry or acai bowl or something, love it.
Yeah, frozen yogurt, ice cream.
Yes.
There you go. There you go. Okay. When did you have your next surgery?
So, 2016.
What's the story with
like,
that?
This was the crazy year for me. Like I said, it was a huge buildup. We had it was actually on a promotion that Cyborg had co-promoted.
I saw that.
So I was, so excited. She had posted me about, posted about me and this and that, and I was so ready for it. Had my fight, lost. Had growing up in the gym, I was used to being in pain.
Okay.
And I was always like, oh, my neck. I just have a weak neck. You know, Muay Thai. Lots of clinching. I just have a weak neck. My mom used to always massage me and this and that. July 2016, I had my fight and lost. Got really depressed. Gained, jumped up in weight, more than 25 pounds in, a week. So I weighed in at 25. And I think by that next week, I was over 150. Okay. And that was just from rehydration, but my binging. And got really depressed, really fat, but then was like, okay, I got to get back in there. So went back in the gym and was working with someone. Again, this is when I wasn't really doing any sort of grappling. So didn't know how to fall properly, wasn't even on proper mats. And I was working with someone and they flipped me. And I felt something funny. I knew something was off, but I didn't land properly. And just kind of, again, I was like, oh, gosh, it's just because I'm heavy. I just ignored it, went on with my life.
Oh, Jesus.
And
it got worse.
It got worse. And it wasn't until, like I said, I was having issues. I was having pain. But I've always had neck, for 10 plus years, I've had neck pain.
Yeah.
And one night, my husband had just gone out of town. We weren't married at this point, but my boyfriend at the time had gone out of town, sleeping with my dog in bed. And at like 3 a.m., I woke up screaming bloody murder. It was like, I thought maybe I'd done something in my shoulder because I just kept grabbing my shoulder. I was like, there's this pain here. Like, what is going on? Again, at that point, should have probably gone straight to the emergency room.
You didn't?
Nope.
Natalya!
Fight life. This is what we do.
Natalya!
I ended up going for, I think it was almost 2 weeks. Like I said, I couldn't sleep.
Oh, Jesus.
I was just in so much pain. I had gone to a couple different places. People didn't know what was going on. I went to OC Fight Doctor, and he was like, I don't really know. They worked and this and that.
Did they do x-rays?
No, at that point they didn't. Again, just kind of ignored it. Continued to train on it.
Oh, jeez.
And then it was finally, I think my husband was the one, he had been gone a couple days. He's like, okay, you just go in. Just
Thank God for him.
Thank God for him. So went to an urgent care by my house, and they were like, we think this is spine. This is a little bit beyond us. We're going to send you to a spine doctor. Went in there, and I had, kind of done my research like you do, Google stuff.
Oh, that is the worst.
I was like, maybe I can get an epidural. I've heard of fighters getting epidurals for pain in their neck. So went in there, got my x-rays. I was at Hoag in Irvine.
Okay. That's a good hospital, actually.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, that's a good hospital.
And the timing of this was perfect, too. My husband and I weren't married, but he had just put me on his insurance.
Okay.
We had been living together for a certain amount of time, so I was on his insurance, which was amazing insurance compared to my parents', which was military insurance. And that is a lot harder. Absolutely. So went in for my x-rays. I was sitting in there like, okay, didn't need my husband to come with me. I was just by myself, all this. And surgeon walks in like he does, and he's looking at my paperwork. He's like, okay, I think this was like, must have been like a Monday. I think it was a Monday or Tuesday. And he looks at me. He's like, okay, so I need you for emergency surgery Wednesday or Thursday. And I was like, whoa. Wait, what? Like, what? Damn. And he goes, yeah, you need to, he goes like, to the point where he was like, I don't want you sneezing wrong because I'm scared if you sneeze wrong, you will throw something out. He talked about paralysis and all this. And I'm just sitting there trying to, again, process what I'm being told. He was just like, okay, schedule, I need you in right now. And I was like, I need to figure out work and this and that. Like, give me a couple days, please, to process this. Went in on a Friday. I think it was a Friday. Had my surgery. I was in the hospital for, I think it was about 2 or 3 days. I was in a neck brace. I ended up being in a neck brace for 3 months after that. Wow. My mom had to come stay with me because I wasn't allowed to do anything above my head. Couldn't even reach like a glass. And that was like my biggest indicator. Besides having this pain, like I said, I let it go on. And one morning I was trying to cook eggs. And I couldn't pick up the pan. I was like, oh, that's weird. Like, why can't I pick the pan? Tried picking up a half cup of water, and I couldn't pick up a cup of water. And I was like, okay, something is seriously wrong. And I had basically had a bulging disc that was pushing on a nerve. And it had been like that for so many years. I had crazy muscle atrophy. I thought it was maybe just because I jab a lot. My arm is thinner. The doctor was like, no, that's muscle atrophy. So I had been living years with this really bad neck injury. Oh, wow. And he went in there. He fused my neck. So I'm fused now from C4 to C6. I have a plate and screws in there. I say I'm like a little bionic woman.
I feel it. My sister has a plate too in her arm, and that's so not it's not easy.
What it is, I have a nice little scar that I show people. I'm like, got my neck cut.
Oh yeah, she has a scar all the way over here, and she grew to love it. If that makes it, you grew to.
You do. I'm very lucky because not a lot of people even notice it, but people every once in a while be like, wait, what is that on your neck? Like, what happened? Obviously, it's not something I share a whole lot now, but it's out there. People know about it. I am very, 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 very lucky with my surgeon. the hospital
Your
that I went to.
Your husband that pushed you to go?
Thank goodness my husband, because I could have made it so much worse.
Well, you have that fighter mentality, and this is the problem. Whether you play basketball, whether you play soccer, whether you're a fighter, you just go, 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 go. Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to just turn it off.
Yeah. Oh,
so
100%.
you feel like if you go to the doctor and you check on yourself, you see yourself as a little like weak or whatever. No, you have to actually take care of yourself.
There are legitimate injuries that need to be addressed sometimes.
Absolutely.
So thank goodness I went and got it addressed, and it was one of those like, wow, I can actually live without pain.
Yep.
And it was so nice to experience. Like, I got healed up. I stupidly went and did a boxing fight like 9 or 10 months after. I was supposed to be out for almost a year. And I was supposed to be out for over a year. Against my doctor's knowledge and wishes, I'm crazy and did a fight. One, like I said, I ended up going 7-0. I had boxing, Muay Thai, and MMA fights.
You won, right.
I was basically, beat all of those and was awesome, feeling good. And then, that was pretty much my experience with it.
That fighter mentality.
Thank goodness everything is, back to what it needs to be. And I'm actually stronger now because of that. So I'm very happy about it. It's like, it sucked I had to go through it, but I'm glad I went through it. And then it's now giving me the opportunity to have another nice long career because I addressed an issue instead of ignored it like so many of us do.
Okay. So with this mentality, I know, like you're so on and focused on everything. How'd you go from dancing in theater to this? Like, like it's all,
just
like, you know what I mean? Like completely
100%
360, huh?
So different. My mom actually was the one when we lived down in Imperial Beach.
Right.
And there was a Muay Thai gym.
Okay.
We passed by it every single day. I could walk there. And over the summer, like I said, I've always dealt with weight issues. Okay. And just issues with body dysmorphia, mentality, everything you can think of. And it was over the summer, I think leading into 8th grade. I think it was leading into my 8th grade. I had been dancing all year, and my mom was the one that was like, okay, 2 things. One, you need to stay in shape over the summer. Just keep active, because I'm one of those, I can be a bit of a hermit crab. So if I have the opportunity, I will not leave that couch.
Perfect.
That's who I am. So she was like, you need to stay active, keep your body moving. She was a dancer, so she understood the value of movement to your body.
Yep.
So she said, you need to stay in shape over the summer. Also, you got some anger issues. So maybe
we
this
all
will be
did
helpful.
when we were teenagers. Absolutely. Who didn't?
I was a raging drama person and needed some help there.
Nothing abnormal there. Every teenager had that
typical teenage girl.
Absolutely.
Dealing with stuff. I went to a school where I was one of very, very few white people. So I also had a lot of issues with individuals, a lot of issues with girls. I've been attacked at roller skate land, little things like that. So my mom was like, if I'm going into high school in Chula Vista, maybe I should have some, learn how to defend myself a little bit, gain some confidence, stay in shape.
Right.
Just start kickboxing. Why not?
Yeah.
Started it, and I think it was 6 months in, my coach was like, hey, I got a fight for you. I was like,
great.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, why not?
And that was it. I fell in love with it. We used to go down to Mexico. My coach knew people down there, so we would go down to Rosarito, Tecate, all sorts of different places to fight down there. Fought in TJ, Ensenada.
All the badass cities, by the way. It's not like Puerto Vallarta or Cancun. You were going to
we were going to the gimnasios, dirt gym.
I'm watching El Chapo right now on Netflix, and all these cities you just said are the ones I keep hearing about over there.
So that's where we were going. At 16 years old, this little blonde-headed white girl coming and didn't know a lick of Spanish, and it was just this is what I'm doing.
The
and
white girl fighting over there down in those parts of Mexico.
And they loved it, you know. And like I had fought in one of them was like Senor Frogs.
Okay.
And the guy, I was 16 years old, and the guy was coming around because again, it was like in a club that they had just thrown a ring in. So we're just upstairs. There's no like back room for us to get ready. I'm just standing upstairs waiting for my turn, and the guy comes around trying to pour shots down my throat. And my mom's like, "No, she's 16. She's fighting." Like, no. So we all got a really just interesting taste of this lifestyle. And my dad loved it because my dad has played like every sport you could ever imagine.
Yep.
He's rugged, just that kind of guy. So he loved it. He's like, "Oh, this is freaking awesome."
Military background. I was going to say,
yes.
I think that helped you as well, because if you had a softy daddy and mommy, that would have not been the case at all.
I am so lucky. Like I said, it took my mom some time, but for some reason
I think daddy, you know,
she took to it.
Let it influence.
She was the loudest woman in almost all of my fights. I
There
can
you
always
go.
hear my mom's voice. It's just so funny, but it just kind of worked for us. And we were like, I would go to cheerleading practices and I'd have all my bruises, and then over the weekend we'd go down to Mexico and fight. And it was really weird, and never thought I would actually pursue it as a career.
Right.
Actually didn't really like MMA in the beginning. I
got-
loved
yeah.
Muay Thai. It was an art for me. It's this beautiful dance, and I just loved it so much. But MMA, it was like, oh my
the
gosh.
Muay Thai is the promotions are just not as
And
big.
that's what was so upsetting, is there's no money in it.
Yeah, no money in it. The promotions are not that big. Even if you go to Thailand, which is the heart of Muay Thai, you're making close to no
Glory.
money.
I had thought about trying to do Glory and all this, but there was just not
They're
anything
almost
behind
bankrupt. You know
I
what mean?
actually
So,
read an episode that I read some sort of article that I heard that they had gone bankrupt, and so I was like, just such a weird time. Anyways,
I don't know if you know, I used to follow this fighter. He's a kickboxer. I think he did a little Muay Thai. Badr Hari. He was huge in that kickboxing world.
Maybe if
he
I
was
saw
one
him,
of the badasses. And he's actually from my region, because I'm from Morocco, and he's just built like a tank.
You know, my dad was born in Morocco.
Was he? Yeah. No, he was shot up.
Yeah.
Your dad was born in Morocco?
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about that.
We were all
Hold
born
on,
in different
wait.
countries.
Time out. Hold up. Press the pause button. Wait, really?
Yeah. So
military?
My dad. Yeah, my dad's dad was military.
Okay,
were
they did have
stationed
an
out
American
there.
camp in Kenitra over there.
So that's where
there's an Air Force base in Kentucky.
Yes, there's an
Yeah.
Air Force base. See, I know exactly
So-
what it was. Me and your dad gotta hang out. Okay.
Oh,
got you.
he will talk your ear off. Tell me that. But that's where. So he was born in Morocco. My mom was born in England. My sister was
Wow.
born in Canada, and then I was born in Florida. So I'm like the only like actual
super universal family there.
all over the place. But I'm so lucky to have that. And
Absolutely.
I'm not necessarily a huge military brat, but to have that experience, to see these pictures of all these places my parents have been, like that's the goal. I
Right.
cannot wait to go to all these places.
Absolutely. All right.
But you were saying, so was there a martial art that you used to
Yeah,
do,
no,
or-
just kickboxing. I just was a bit. That's how I got in love with the Muay Thai kickboxing
Here's
world.
Badr Hari if you want to take a look. Maybe you'll recognize him.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he actually
He's a
fought
beast.
Overeem in Holland kickboxing. In a kickboxing, Overeem
Okay, I
beat
think
him the
that's
first
why-
fight. Overeem kept calling him out. He was actually the man of the sport.
Yeah.
He kept calling him out. He once prepared himself. He came. He whooped Overeem.
Oh my
He
gosh.
whooped him, and I think
That's a big man.
Overeem. Oh Jesus.
So I can't even
Oh, that is
imagine.
a big boy. Brock Lesnar, Overeem, they're all in the same category.
Oh.
You do not want to share a plate with them. I'll just say that. No.
Something about Muay Thai guys, like MMA guys are awesome, but these Muay Thai guys, oh my gosh.
Kickboxing, Muay Thai, absolutely.
One of my
Oh,
biggest
for sure.
weaknesses.
Oh, for sure. Hope the husband doesn't watch it, but anyway, all right.
He knows
He
I'm
knows.
obsessed with my Joe Shillings and all this. He's dealt with this very hard. Sorry, babe.
right, let's pick your brain a little bit outside of what's going on right now. So, I know you're a big fan of Cris Cyborg.
Yes.
Do you like how he ended with the UFC? Did you like how he ended? I mean, the whole thing with the footage her team came out with her last fight being the Nunes fight. Do you think it could have went differently? And by the way, I'm talking about I'm if I'm putting Dana into blame a little bit as well. I don't think Dana ever liked Cris.
No.
He never liked her. I don't know, for whatever reason it is. He always loved Ronda a little more than he liked Cris. And she has done so much for women.
Cyborg is literally, she is the queen.
Right.
And she is so amazing. And people do not understand what she's gone through to get to this place.
It's a hard life growing up in Brazil and,
to be trained, one of probably the only woman training with these guys in the very beginning, getting her butt whooped by these men. And being able to, I'm not best friends with her, but I was able to see her in an environment where I got to see her one-on-one and got to see a normal Cris Cyborg. I've seen her train. I've seen her just sitting around. We were chatting, and dancing and this and that. And she is just one of the most beautiful, just such an amazing individual. Just so sweet. You would never expect Cyborg to be just one of the sweetest women, so soft-spoken, all this.
This is why we always say, don't judge the book by its cover.
You never can.
She might look riggedy or tough or whatever, but this is not the first time I heard that.
No.
She's actually one of the sweetest people ever.
One of the sweetest things. And I remember watching that her cutting weight was just really hard. I had watched a lot of her documentaries and seeing her. So I actually got to train at Ruka, which is pretty much here in this area. She was training at Ruka for one of her fights. I don't think it was when she was in the UFC. I don't think she had been in the UFC yet. But she was getting ready for one of her fights. And because she's bigger, she doesn't usually have a lot of women to work with. So she's having to spar with the boys. And
it was hard for Dana to actually find fights for her for a very long time.
So hard and
super hard. And Ronda would never take that fight when Ronda and Cris were at the top of their peak. She never wanted to take that fight, and Cris kept calling her. Ronda came out and called her a dude. Well, it's just like
there was so much that went into it, and I got to watch her sparring with these guys, and I saw her not break, but she stopped at one point and was like, I can't do this, like this hurts. This is really, it's a man, it's a grown man putting it on her, and that's obviously what has made her who she is today. But it was so humbling to watch this woman pretty much cry after a sparring session because she was just in pain and she hurt and she just didn't have a lot of people.
Her career has not been easy in any way.
None of it,
shape or form.
And this, besides the fact that we are literally going in there and fighting for our lives, the entertainment aspect of this is so hard. You have to, like with celebrities, it's not, I don't want to refer to us as celebrities, but you have to have the toughest skin.
Yes, and it's very interesting you said the promotion of it, and you have to be able to market yourself. And the first that comes to mind is Colby Covington. Because if you know his story a little bit, he was about to get cut in the UFC, even though he was winning all of his fights. But he wasn't marketable. People didn't know him. People didn't care from him. And then douchebag Colby Covington came to play, and the whole whatever, and swearing at people and belittling the different nationalities. I don't like it, but I understand why he did it. Because
same with Conor. You may not like him, but he was very smart at what he did, and he actually was able to back up a lot of his.
Colby does too. He's a great fighter. Let's be very clear. He's one of the best fighters in that division, whether we like it or not. he had to do what he's done to survive in the division.
No,
because
it's very true.
they call them and they're like, we might not sign you again. You have maybe a fight or two left.
Yeah.
And that's when the whole Brazil shenanigans started. I believe he was fighting Damian Maia or whatever. And he just went on hard on like Brazilians, and he just kept that,
persona.
Yeah, persona, if you want. It's like the WWE in a sense.
Yes.
You know what
and
I
that's
mean?
how I
Like-
had started feeling that, when the Conor was when he was doing his stuff, there was a lot of it that felt like that WWE. And
Right.
it was one of those, I understood what they were doing, but it
Right.
was also really hard because it was like, dang it, but this is an entertainment sport.
Absolutely.
This
It is. You got to be able to sell. You got to be
Yeah.
able to sell pay-per-views, T-shirts, merch, everything. So I agree. I agree. And I'll say this about Dana. He's actually one of the smartest promoters out there.
Yeah.
We might not like how he does business from time to time, but he's literally the best promoter in his generation. I gotta give him that. We're gonna go back to Conor in a minute, but the reason I was talking about Cris, because I want to talk about women's empowerment and stuff and how much she's done for the sport. Do you think the UFC has done enough for women in the MMA world?
I think there's always room for more.
Okay.
And especially with the UFC, it's been very interesting to see because they have obviously done so much, like getting Ronda in there.
Yep.
I knew Liz Carmouche. I got to train with her, so she was one of the first ones coming in. But it's hard because there's so much more. Like, I was very upset with the first UFC fight. Liz Carmouche had so much behind her, being a vet, being a lesbian, and all this kind of stuff. There was so much behind her.
Right in behind. Right.
But you didn't hear really any of that. It was all sex sells.
Right.
And it was all about Ronda Rousey. And so I think they have done so much for us. And that's where I'm trying to get. But at the same time, I think there are different ways they could have gone about a lot of these women fighters. And again, like I said, I understand sex sells, but there's also so much more to us than just that. So I wish they would kind of embrace that aspect of, women who are firefighters and police officers. Like, there's so much more to us than just looking good and fighting.
Yeah, because one of my biggest problems is U.S. soccer team, for example, not getting paid what they deserve.
Yeah.
The men are not achieving a quarter as much as what the women's soccer team are achieving.
Yeah.
They've been whooping everyone out there. They don't get paid
Yeah.
at all, barely anything. We
talked about this in another podcast. They pull more money too.
Yeah,
they make
pull
more money than the men's team
which
does.
is
Millions more.
Which is ridiculous. And then you see the U.S. men's soccer team. They get paid the good bonuses, everything.
Yeah.
And who's been winning the last World Cups? It's been the women.
Yeah.
And they get to train in turf stadiums. That's
Wow.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
And you get hurt more and injuries and whatever. Yeah. And I hope they do something about it. But going back into the UFC, here's my problem with it. I liked what Dana was doing with Ronda.
Yeah.
Which was great. But now Ronda's gone.
Yeah.
Why can't you have a card under Nunes? I don't want to hear main events. I don't want to hear that she's in the main event. Why don't you give a Nunes card?
Well, and that's exactly where there's who they choose to put all of their energy and marketing into. I haven't necessarily agreed with, because I think they could do so much with Amanda. Like, look at Amanda.
Double champ,
Yes.
2 different divisions.
Completely has just changed the game.
And she hasn't whooped like nobody. She whooped Ronda, she whooped Holly, Chris.
All of these things.
All of future Hall of Famers.
Being a very openly gay woman, with her wife in this. And I think her wife is actually pregnant right now. So
is she? Oh, interesting. Nice.
So there's so much that the UFC could really use their platform to support.
I agree.
And to encourage.
I agree.
But
I'd like to see a Nunes card soon.
Yeah.
She deserves it.
She's
been whooping everyone.
I know. There's so many of them.
I'd like to see a Nunes Valentino.
Okay,
card.
I was just going to say, because Bullet is just That is,
hey,
oh my
They already
gosh.
fought twice, right? They already fought twice. And
Which is crazy to think.
Yeah.
Crazy to think, yeah. I think they fought twice, and I think she lost both times.
She lost both times, yeah.
But holy crap, because I got a chance to do a meet and greet with Bullet in Vegas. And, okay, I'm big for 25.
Right.
Like, I love 25 because I am bigger for 25. When I met Bullet Valentina, I was like, oh my gosh, she's so small. Just the smallest, so petite. Like, I could not. And then to think that she fought Amanda, I was like, wow.
Well, Amanda's short, though. Like, how tall is Shevchenko?
So she's shorter than me. She must be like 5'4" or 5'5".
Okay.
5'5".
Okay.
And
Five.
125.
How tall
Yeah.
is? Can you check how tall is Nunes?
She's 5'8". I think Amanda is.
Oh wow.
5'8".
Nunes is 5'8".
Because Holly is 5'8".
Okay, Holly's 5'8".
Yeah,
and
she's 5'8". Amanda
oh wow.
Nunes
Yeah.
is
Okay,
5'8".
so she got
And like I said, for some reason, maybe it's just her build, but she
does not look short on TV. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, and I'm 5'5" and a half, so I was very surprised at just how petite Bullet was, because I was not expecting that. But I remember looking up Nunes, because people have asked me, like, okay, so why don't you fight 35? And I'm like, okay, have you seen the girls at 35? Like, I could fight at 35, but those are some big
But you gotta
women.
understand, yes, because 35, that means their walking weight is around 150, 155.
Yes.
Easily.
Even
Easily.
160s. I know
Exactly.
girls 160s.
Yes, easily 155, like I
Yes.
said. Oh, yeah, absolutely, because 20, yeah. So they'll be like even 160 or over, so yeah, they got a lot of power.
So way different than fighting 25ers. So I'm like right in the middle.
Right.
If my eating was a little bit better, 25 would be much easier. And this actually was a really easy weight cut for me. So 25 is good, but yeah, big girls at 35.
So if
They have more reach too, right?
Yeah, very long
Long
girls. I
arms.
think because of that.
I'm actually gonna wait for that pick because I have a lot of picks for you towards the end. Okay, so with the whole women's empowerment and stuff, let's stay in that topic. Do you feel like, okay, besides the UFC, like Bellator or other stuff, do you feel, of course they could always do more, but I don't see that many girls fighting in other promotions like the UFC.
Yeah.
Who do you think is at fault at this? Is it the promotion itself? Is it the fighters that are not reaching out? Who do you think is at fault here?
I think it's a combination of things. I think because this is still a very new sport for us.
Yes, it is.
So I think UFC is the ultimate goal because I think that is the highest level you can get to. That's where
What's that promotion in that just opened up in Asia in
one
Singapore?
championship.
Yeah, the one championship.
So you
That's
have quite a few. Yeah, I've heard of those. I've actually considered
Have you?
going over. I would
heard
love
the
to go
money's
overseas.
nice.
Yes.
I heard the
yes.
money's beautiful.
So it's like, hey, I would love
'Cause
fighting overseas.
Trust me, Demetrius Johnson is not gonna go there for an empty purse.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
so.
And I don't know if they have 25ers out there. I know they have like the
Interesting.
105. I think I'd have to look a little bit more into that. But same thing. There's just right now. We have a lot of girls, but we are very limited with high-level women.
Right.
And so, thank goodness for promotions like Invicta. Like Invicta, all women's promotion.
Oh, wow.
The woman who, I don't know if she actually owns it, but Shannon Knapp, who runs the whole thing, is a woman. Everyone I dealt with, like the matchmaker,
my next question.
was a
Do
woman.
you think more girls need to be in charge?
100%.
Right?
100%. Like Invicta
Like
is
Dana
doing
White
it
needs
right.
to put some women around him and let more girls in charge.
Like I said, it could go good or bad. You have to have these really good people. But Shannon Knapp is so intelligent about this stuff too, and using her platform to help bring these women up. And there's a lot more women out there. I think that we're so close. So I think as of right now, like I say, this new generation is coming in. So we're going to see a lot more coming into Bellator, Invicta, all this. But it's still like just we need a little bit more of a breakthrough for women,
Right.
like
I
with Bellator. There's not a whole lot,
Yep.
I think, in there, and I
Not
think
a
that's
whole
just
lot. I know Chris signed with them not too long
Yeah.
ago, but again, who is she going to be fighting?
exactly
That's
at
the
45ers.
problem.
It's like
Yeah.
there are a ton of 115ers, straw weights, and surprisingly a lot of like I think 105ers. So my weight class and the 45 weight class, I think is just there's just not a lot of people in there
Yep.
right now, and not a lot of
I agree.
really good
Because
women in
even
there.
if in the UFC and people that watch the UFC could go right now to any bar and be like, hey, give us 5
Yes.
women that fights right now in the UFC.
Yeah.
They'll say maybe Nunes. They'll maybe say Shevchenko, but that's about it.
Yeah.
No one knows anyone else. And I feel like that is a UFC mistake they're making because when you're promoting all these male talent, which is great, you should be doing the same thing for girls. Mostly when you talked about embedded and stuff, you should be covering
Yeah.
more girls over there. Great, we already know who Nunes is, and by the way, Nunes already, we said it before, deserves her own card. Shevchenko deserves her own card. Let's bring in more talent.
Yeah.
Let's see who these girls, how they are with their families. We see a little bit of it, but not enough. There is
No.
a lot more male than we see with the women. Okay, let's switch up gears again. Now I'm gonna pick your brain a little bit about fighting, about some fights that are coming up. First of all, if there was a third fight between Shevchenko and Nunes, how do you think it would go? That's a rough one.
Okay, both of these women, like I say, I talk about Cyborg because she was just a pioneer, they say, of this
Right.
sport. But holy heck,
Yeah.
Bullet and Nunes, both alone, are just, in their
Right.
own aspects, in their own weight classes, are just beyond
Yeah.
what a true martial artist is. Just phenomenal in whatever they do,
Yep.
not just stand up, not just ground game, whatever it is they choose to do. I think the only thing is Nunes she has this reach and she's just a big woman. So
Yep.
I think regardless of what happens, sometimes that is just
Yeah,
how
I
it kind
feel
of plays out is sometimes they are just built different and that really has an advantage over someone. Like I said, Bullet, especially after seeing Bullet, she is so small.
She is.
So, no matter what she does,
She's got the energy, tactics are there. She's
Yeah.
very smart.
She
but
can hang,
I
you
feel
know,
like
she can
Nunes
hang,
got
but
that power.
it's just one of those, it's so
Power.
different.
Yeah, Nunes is fast too when she's got those pops.
Yeah.
Oof.
So I think,
What
and I
would
never
you-
like to say that about Bullet because Bullet is my
But I think, yeah, she-
queen.
yeah.
But I think it would go to Amanda again. She is just blows
By the
my
way,
mind.
you do have something similar. I saw you picking up the little dance moves from Shevchenko at the end of your fights. I love that. By the way,
that came after
Right.
like that first
yes,
win.
yes.
And
He was like
then-
holding your hands, and the decision hasn't even come out.
And
You guys
they
were
were like,
and he just started pulling up
okay.
some moves. I was like, I
That was
love
like-
it. I was just like
One
clapping.
of those adrenaline was going. They ended up playing my walkout song.
Yep.
And I was like, yeah.
And
Didn't
she
even
had
know
a
that.
super cheesy walkout song. Your opponents
It
at that
was
fight. I forgot what it was, but
oh
yeah.
my gosh, yeah, it was one of those. But then everybody was like, "Oh, that's cute," and that time in the gym, I'm dancing and this and that. So I was like, "Okay,
I
this
saw it. I was like, that's the dancing
just-
background right there.
just gotta embrace it. I
Watch
will
out
always
from
be a
that.
dancer. Once a dancer, always a dancer."
Okay, let's go with Conor. Conor retiring. I'm so dizzy. I want to like throw up. Do you see Conor fighting the next year or two? Do you see him fighting anytime soon?
I do.
There's a lot of fights for Conor right now.
I think he is going to come back. I think it's a
think so,
weird
too.
situation. Almost like with Ronda. Like with Ronda, she'll never come back because that's just
Right.
She
She
just doesn't have-
lost too many. No, she lost. The way she lost was not pretty.
no.
Because when you come out versus Nunes and you want to talk to media and you're trying to act this, and I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm not the biggest Ronda fan. I think
And
there's- Right.
I was in love with her.
Right.
I've read her book and this and that.
Oh, great, yeah.
And I really loved her whole mentality coming up.
Right.
And then for someone who was struggling with my own confidence and all this, to then see how she handled things was really heartbreaking. You know, she had every opportunity to kind of do what I'm doing, where it's like, look, it's a loss. It freaking sucks. It really sucks. It's heartbreaking. It's embarrassing, all this kind of stuff. But, okay, move on with your life. Like, there's so much more to do. And
absolutely.
I wish she had so many people, you know, supporting her and behind her. And
we
I wish
her
she could
nothing
have.
but the best over here, too. It's just, you know, like, I wish she would have just taken the loss and moved on, like you said. It's okay. It's not, you're a pro.
Yeah.
You're a professional by the end of the day. You take an L,
Yeah.
that's okay. Move on, make adjustments. And if this is not for you anymore, it's still fine. But when you come out with that attitude, it just sends the wrong vibes.
No, way different.
But for Conor, going back to Conor, I mean, there is talks about the Masvidal fight. There is talks about the Khabib rematch. There is talks about, there's so much talks. It is how I'd like it to play. Khabib came out and said, all right, I'm doing the Gaethje, I'm doing 2 more fights and then I'm done, because his father wanted to see him at 30, and his father just passed away, and his father meant the world to him. So he's doing the Gaethje fight for sure, and he wants GSP for April. Dana swore he'll never give GSP another fight ever again. But he said for Khabib, and if that's Khabib's retirement match, he'd actually consider it. I love the GSP Khabib in April, but here is what I would like better. I'd like Tony Ferguson to fight Conor. Winner of that takes on Khabib in his last fight.
Yeah,
because I still want to see the Tony versus Khabib before Khabib retires.
No, I think that would actually, like you said, the GSP. We love GSP, but I just... I don't know. There's something different about it.
It's been a minute. I mean, he bashed Bisping when he fought 3 years ago. I mean, GSP's always going to be GSP, just a little older, I guess. But I don't know. If I had to choose, I'd rather see Tony versus...
Yeah, I think I would lean more towards that as well. Like I said, love GSP and all this, but... yeah, I'm
Gaethje
ready to see something
else. And he wasn't ready for that fight. And you know how hard it is. And Tony made 2 weight cuts in the same month.
Yeah.
And he was preparing for a wrestler that likes to wrestle on the ground. And now he's fighting Gaethje, who hits like a horse. So you know what I mean? Like,
it's gonna be
completely different game plan. DC's last fight versus Miocic. How do you see that one going?
So this is what, the third time?
This is the third time. So DC won the first one. Miocic won the second one, and then it's going 3, and it feels like a little grudge match because both of them were a little sour, but it's fun. I mean, you know, DC came out, it's like win, lose, or draw. This is it. This is it.
And when's the last time DC fought?
He fought Miocic. That was the second.
That was the last time he fought,
about a year ago. Yeah,
okay,
a little
that's
less
what I was
than a year
thinking.
ago.
I was like, I don't think he's fought since then.
Yeah.
I love both of them.
Miocic is a beast, one of the best heavyweights to ever do
love
it.
him. Is he? And I think he's an actual firefighter.
Was he? I know he's from the Midwest. I'm from the Midwest, so
I may be confusing him with someone.
I don't know.
But
I don't know if he's a firefighter. I never knew that about him. If he is a firefighter, but
so
we have our fact checker already checking it already.
I was like,
he was.
Yeah, he was a firefighter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay,
All
that's
right.
what I thought. So I love like that aspect of him. He goes and does a full-time job and then
he still does it?
I think he's
that is
a firefighter.
interesting. That is
Yeah,
very
he's a firefighter and a paramedic.
Yes.
Wow.
So really cool. Obviously, first responders, my heart goes out for them.
There you go. Mostly during this COVID time.
Especially
oh my
right now.
God, they've been going through hell.
Especially right now. So to be able to do that.
Yeah, ESPN has an article where they follow him for 24 hours on one of his shifts.
No, that's cool.
Okay.
That's
So
really
if anybody
cool.
wants to look into it.
There you go.
So I would probably go for Steve just because.
Okay. I'm going the opposite way, but I have my reasons.
With
Yeah. I don't see. I want him to finish with the bang. I do see the age being a factor. He's over 40 years old. But I don't know.
And taking a year off?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, even Miocic hasn't fought since that fight. So it's been the same thing. Yeah. So both of them hasn't fought in about a year. I just want DC going out with a bang. So I think my heart is making the pick for this one. Yeah,
that's how I am too. It's like if I know it's kind of that time, or maybe leaning towards the time, it's like just you want them to go out on top, not to have to go out.
Absolutely. Got one more fight for you, and I promise I'll let you go. No more questions for you. You've been super nice. I got Adesanya versus Costa. That's another big fight. Adesanya is super calculated. He doesn't just, again, go in for the kill every time. He likes to take his time. Costa, I don't know how he makes that 170. I don't get it.
I don't know a whole lot about Costa.
Oof. You gotta watch him. He's a beast.
But and that's the thing is, these guys doing these weight cuts.
Right.
It does add a whole lot to it, but
beast. He has been destroying everyone they put in front of him. So that's gonna be a super. It's already booked for the next couple of months. So
you think his style is good for Adesanya?
Okay, I don't see any holes in Adesanya's game. That's the problem.
I know. That's what I love his style.
I don't see any holes in Adesanya's game just because, like I said. I know it might be a little too much. I feel like Adesanya to me. There's a lot of comparisons to like Anderson Silva back in the day.
Yeah.
Super smart, minus the cockiness. Because sometimes Anderson Silva would just stand over there and just be like, Izzy doesn't do that. He does not do that. He talks the talk, and he definitely sure as hell walks the walk. So. Hey, hopefully that's going to be another good fight. So I really can't wait. I mean, like I said, Dana has been doing a great job booking these fights. Promotion has been great. I just hope he could do a little bit more for women. I know okay, so my team is mostly, girls around there.
Yes, girl power.
They were super excited about this booking, and I don't even do the booking. I'm like, hey, if you got more girls, just book more girls.
While you guys were talking, I was like, I want to ask her some questions after.
Yes, no, I'm all about it, especially because of what I do is so different. But anytime I get to work with women or talk about it, it's like the most fun thing for me, because it's just like, we live a crazy lifestyle. I'm not a typical, normal, woman, I guess you could say. There's so much that goes into it. But anytime I see that, it's
there's
so
certain
awesome.
things that kind of I think we all have in common as women across the board.
Oh, yeah.
Like when I watched that video he was talking about Cyborg, where she was just crying. And I swear, like, as a woman, like, I could feel her pain through the screen. And it was like, as that whole, we all have that, like, nurturing kind of thinking about most of us, I can't speak for everybody, but have that thing where we always want to think about other people and how they're feeling before we think about ourselves in a way. And I was like, oh my god, I feel so horrible for her. I just want to like give her a hug and tell her she's gonna be okay, she can do it. And oh god, I almost started crying when we were watching it. And I don't know too much about fighting, but because by association, because Yassi's really into it, and so is Dan, just learning from what they talk about on a daily, watching the fights with them, knowing all the fighters' names, and seeing the difference, how it is for women, and how, because the boys had such a bigger, like, platform from the beginning. I feel like that goes with all sports, though. Women have to play catch up. And then you have to be just as tough. You have to be just as hard. But then there's also that part of yourself that you don't want to lose. Because people crap on Cyborg all the time for being such a tough chick. And they don't see that soft side of her. But it's there. It's there, and it's part of who she is. And it's just like, you can't discount her. Like, I almost feel like I wish she could show that side of herself more. She had to work like 5 times harder than anyone to make it to where she is, for sure. As women, we generally usually have something to prove. When it comes to fields like that aren't necessarily female oriented.
Well, and that's why they'll say sometimes almost the girl fights are sometimes better than the guy fights.
Absolutely,
because there's a lot that goes into it. I read one time about just how it applies almost in nature. So men will fight to get the alphaness, they fight for alphaness. Well, usually the only time a woman is fighting is maybe defending their young. So
to survive.
So it is so much more intense than just like, oh yeah, I'm the more alpha person. It's like, no, I will fight you to the death.
It's like the go-to where they bring up lions. The male lions just fight over territory. They fight over women, and they kind of just sit on their butts. But who feeds everybody? Who keeps all the children in check? It's the female lions.
Yeah,
they're
100%.
the hunters.
So that's kind of how I apply it. Is we have to work so much harder. We have to put on almost a better show just to get that little bit of recognition, and it's still not there yet.
Because sex sells, like you said. Yeah. So you still have guys. It doesn't care how ugly the guy fighters are. It doesn't matter what they look like. Yeah. But for women, in all things, it matters how we look. Yeah. I mean, women who have just general day-to-day things that care about how they you have to worry about how you look. And I think that's something that men, they do deal with. It's just women are more scrutinized for it. But it's like what you said about having problems with eating. I think every woman in their life has at least had a moment in time where they had an issue with food or how they looked. And men do too. I think we're more shining a light on how that affects men as well. But it's just, we can't forget about women and the extra stuff that we have to go through, the extra hoops we have to jump through to be considered and to be taken seriously.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and it's so frustrating too, because you will have the women that are like, okay, they understand the entertainment aspect of it, and they're like, okay, I'll do the whole sex sells thing. Well, regardless of which direction you go, you're going to be criticized, whether it's like, okay, you're too sexy, or okay, you're just sexy, you're not a fighter.
Then if you're not too sexy, you can't market yourself, and then you're not marketable, or so many problems from so many directions.
I'm going to bring up you guys were talking about the campiness of the WWE. I think about the women in the WWE. How did they used to look back in the day? China was a big deal because she was a big, tough chick, and all the other chicks were I'm blanking right now on names, but they had to be cute and blonde and tiny and skinny. And I'm like, but they're not going to be able to throw someone over their shoulder. Yeah. I mean, come on.
No, and it's really interesting you brought this up, because I obviously have experienced it throughout my whole career as a woman in a male-dominated sport. But it was really interesting because one promotion that I was going to fight for reached out to me, and it was talking about photos for the poster. And usually we all have that typical, we have a pose and we send it in. Well, I had sent in a normal posed picture. I think my hair was back, all that kind of stuff. Well, and I've never dealt with something so blatantly just obvious about it too, but they messaged me back and said, hey, could you basically do yourself up like you're going out?
Oh, geez.
Fluff it up a little?
Could you fluff it up a little?
I'm not surprised.
And so I was like, okay, you know what, whatever. I'll look good on the poster. If they asked me, they must have asked my opponent too. My opponent, I think, was a beautiful girl too. Yeah. So I was like, okay, they're gonna do the whole sex sells, two hot girls fighting. So I, got all done up and I set a picture in and all this kind of stuff. Well, then I get the poster, and the poster is me in this model picture, and then her, which looked like a typical what you send in. And I was very, trying not to be so offended by it, but I was so offended by it. Okay, hold up. I will sell tickets. I can sell no matter what, just because of who I am as a person and how I fight. But don't just automatically assume I'm just gonna fall into that so this is the hot girl, doesn't really matter,
she's the tough chick,
and the other one's a tough chick, and
it's kind of insulting.
It was really hard because I was trying not to be insulted by it, and had the conversation with my husband. I was like, who does this?
Just sounds like ignorance,
and that's what it was, and it was so obvious, even tell her, I don't know, make her look nice, but then to just be no, send a picture of you done up you're going out kind of thing, and not even giving, I hadn't even fought for them yet.
They could have told you. They didn't even tell you that was
These
the
are the
angle.
things that people don't understand that goes into the fighting business. Not only that you gotta know how to fight, not only that you gotta do the diet and do this and do that, you gotta be able to market yourself and
I
put
had
in
that.
makeup and take pictures.
It was a really just very
it's-
weird situation
Yeah.
I've dealt with before, but again, not so obvious. And then to see the poster, and I was like, well, damn it, now I just look stupid
Yep.
because now it's like that. Oh yeah, this Instagram girl, I'm a fighter, blah blah blah. It's like no.
Yep.
I'll look
You
good.
put in your time. You
Yeah.
put in your dues.
That's what it is let me fight, and then regardless, you are going to get everything you want because I can sell of not just how I look, but how I fight, how I talk, and all this. So give me
Absolutely.
that opportunity first.
Absolutely. Natalia, thank you so much for coming in today. We're gonna have your Instagram on the description. Go ahead. How can people find you besides your Instagram?
Yeah, really just big on Instagram and Facebook. Instagram, Tally Pain, and it's the same on Facebook. You can find Tally Pain. Don't really do Twitter or anything, but follow my
Same
journey.
over here. We
and
haven't
that's
started a
it.
Twitter page, which we should, I think, sometime soon.
We have it. It's just not.
We
We
haven't
don't get as
been
much
working on
engagement
it.
from it.
Got it.
Exactly. Yeah, Instagram is the biggest engagement for me. I
Right,
think.
right now,
Yeah,
I feel like
exactly.
everybody's so much into it. Natalia, you're a friend of the show. Anytime you want to promote anything, anytime you want to come and talk about anything, please don't hesitate. Reach out. We'd love to have you at
No, I
any
appreciate
time.
this so much. I love doing podcasts, so thank you guys for reaching out to me, and
my pleasure.
being able to do this back home was just awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so
guys.
much. And this is a wrap. Have a blazed day.